Our rules are simple, but the challenge is great. No shoulder pets, tames that can be carried, or typical boss dinos allowed. That means no Rexes, Therazinos, or any other dinos people normally use in these fights. Equipped with official server cap saddles, our 19 contenders will be backed by the commanding presence of a loyal Uteranus providing that extra boost. All competitors will go into battle with food to provide a healing effect. Herbivores will have plenty of sweet veggie cakes, and carnivores and omnivores will have cooked meat. I won't be using the Overseer because the movement speed required to get through the tech cave and then chase the Overseer during the fight would shorten our list by a lot. It's important to note that the tames in this series aren't typically used during boss battles because the amount of mutations you need to make them competitive, but all the dinos competing will have around 23,000 health and 1200% melee. This will give them all a fair shot at defeating at least one of the guardians. It won't always be feasible to reach these stats depending on the dinos I'm using, but I will let you know the amount of mutations and levels it took in order to reach it. All competitors start out with 50 base health and melee, and 40 points in everything else before I apply mutations and experience levels. You can decide on your own servers if it's worth pursuing. Competitors are required to fight the Megapithecus, Broodmother, then the Dragon on all difficulties starting with Gamma, then Beta, finishing with Alpha. Their success will be annotated on this scorecard with a pass or fail system. Now let's introduce our competitor and see if they have what it takes. Gigantopithecus, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. This handsome devil goes by a few names. Typically found in the redwoods, this solitary creature doesn't get much attention and isn't normally part of everyone's go-to tame list. During this competition, they will be wearing Ascendant flak helmets with 150 armor. They mitigate the same damage as a level 150 saddle can, as you can see here. The stats we are using in this challenge were obtained by a whopping 65 mutations and 70 experience levels. 45 mutations went into health as well as 20 experience levels, and 20 mutations went into melee with 50 experience levels. Let's see how hairy things get for the Bigfoot. The green portal was up and the Undersquatches were ready for battle with our first boss, the Gamma Megapithecus. I can't understate how much of a thorough ass whooping this was. They dominated this one from the get-go and even beat the Megapithecus faster than the bears and the aloes did. I was excited to see what was to come in the later stages. The attack speed on the Sasquatch was just too much. The raw power was just too much. They knocked the Gamma Megapithecus' teeth in without breaking a sweat for our first pass of the tournament. Fair warning, if you don't turn off resource harvesting on the Gigantopithecus, then this is what happens. When you try and move them, they will stop and harvest bushes constantly. I ran through the full gauntlet twice, with and without resource harvesting on, and it didn't change the outcome. So I left the footage of them picking berries in just so you can see what happens. Another dominating victory in the books for Bigfoot and a pass on the board. They even managed to find things to harvest in this wasteland. They need to get their priorities straight. I have to warn you before you see this, it's sad. Gamma Dragon approaches and the Gigantopithecus squad rolls in to break his ankles. Now, bear witness to my new least favorite bug in the game. They can't attack him. I tried every difficulty and in various positions around the arena. The Gigantopithecus just can't attack the dragon. You can thank Wildcard for this fail, and please join me in submitting the bug report. With the blue portal activated, it was time to head into the Beta Megapithecus arena. I loved witnessing monkey-on-monkey violence. Just watching all these monkeys monkeying around was great. They monkeyed so hard that the Beta Megapithecus didn't even want to be a monkey anymore. The squad was able to surround him and contain him quite easily on this one, and with one last act of defiance, the Beta Megapithecus pounded his chest, ate shit, and died. Another easy pass. Beta Broodmother started off with a bang, and the Gigantopithecus crew is on her quick. These guys are pretty easy to maneuver, so just make sure you take off resource harvesting. At this point, I fully believed that we'd be able to take all the bosses if it wasn't for that ridiculous bug we had during the dragon fight. The Gigantopithecus came out of every fight relatively unhurt, but cracks are starting to show, literal cracks, in their helmets. More on that in a bit, but for now we need to slap a pass on the board for an easy win over the Beta Broodmother. Red portal means it's time for the final stretch. Alpha Megapithecus stepping up to the challenge first, and this fight was mostly him chasing me around the arena. Another thing to keep in mind, helmets need repair after every fight. The easier bosses don't do too much damage, and their helmets are good for 2 fights usually. But Beta and Alpha, you definitely need to repair them after every fight. That's an astronomical amount of resources. This whole battle was one big ring around the Rosie Marathon for quite some time. It was one of the longer Megapithecus fights I had experienced. Sometimes the bosses would lock aggro onto the UD like we've seen before, but I was able to mitigate it by putting distance between us. I'll have to test it out more to see if it works like that for other dinos. Eventually, Squatch Team 6 was able to corner the big man and pound the life out of his eyes. Another easy pass goes on the board. Heading into the Alpha Broodmother fight, I was pretty confident that they would handle this no problem. The Gigantopithecus felt like picking berries instead. If you've skipped the rest of the fights and are watching this, make sure you turn resource harvesting off. This clip has it on, but rest easy knowing that the outcome of the fight is no different with it off. Remember those cracks I was talking about? The ones in the helmets? Well, Ascendant helms are used because their durability is high. The Alpha Broodmother, in all her might, started shattering helmets at about 50% health. It was all downhill from here. She took out one after the other and easily melted Squatch Brigade after they were left defenseless. After the Alpha Broodmother ate the last monkey, she recognized me as the one that swiped right on Spider Tinder. I ran to embrace her and she ripped all of my clothes off. You can guess what happened next. Thank you for joining me during this episode of the Underdog Boss Battle series. As always, this was a ton of fun and I hope to keep this going and explore more underdogs. Please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see any dinos compete. You can check the community tab for a list of upcoming creatures that will have an episode. If you've liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe to help this community grow. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.